Once upon a time, there lived a very beautiful mad woman who had blue eyes and very full hair. She was called Asa. Asa showed up in the village of Umuoma one day. The villagers knew nothing about her or where she had come from. So they decided to call her Asa because of her beauty. She lived alone in an abandoned hut. She picked up palm fruits and sold them in the market. Unlike other mad people, she never picked dirt or ate from the floor. And she also refuses to accept any form of help or food from anyone. The village of Umuoma was filled with farmers and wrestlers. There was a particular man called Okenwa. He was one of the richest farmers and hunters in the village. Okenwa was the most wanted bachelor in the land, and every maiden wished he would choose them as his wife. He was very promiscuous in nature and always had different women troop into his house. One day, while relaxing with some of the ladies, Asa came to watch them through a window. When he saw her, he was immediately mesmerized by her beauty and ran after her, but he was unable to catch up to her. He came back to the hut to ask the ladies who the mad woman was. Okenwa was curious as to why Asa, who was said not to talk or visit anyone, would decide to come and watch him in his house. So one day, he left the house in his bicycle. After a short ride, he noticed Asa in front of a hut, and immediately she saw him, she ran into the bushes. He stopped and walked into the hut. He was surprised at how neat and arranged the hut was. He left, but she remained on his mind the whole day. He kept asking himself if Asa was really mad. On one of the market days, Asa had just finished selling the palm fruits and was on her way back to her hut. She was stopped by some boys who tried harassing her and taking her cowries. Luckily, Okenwa was passing by and immediately fought off the boys. Asa was grateful and thanked him. This surprised Okenwa because according to what he heard, she does not speak. So you can actually talk, he asked her, but she ignored him and went on her way. Okenwa starts showing up at her hut after that day to buy her food and walk around the village with her. Rumors began circulating that she had bewitched Okenwa with her beautiful, charming eyes. Two ladies who had been Okenwa's playthings became very angry, and they both said to one another, "We are not getting any younger. No man is willing to marry us anymore because they know we have been Okenwa's playthings for a very long time. Instead of thinking of how to marry us, he is busy going around the village with a mad woman." They agreed to deal with Asanwa whenever they saw her. They went to her hut but couldn't find her, so they waited for her along a lonely road. As soon as she came along, they both ran to her and began raining abuses on her and beat her up badly. Asa laid in her hut in pains till Okenwa came to visit her. When he saw her, he was shocked at the state which she was. He asked to know who had the guts to touch her, but she remained silent. He went home angrily, and on getting home, he saw his two girlfriends happily discussing on how they had dealt with Asa that day. he got very angry and chased them out of his compound with a warning that they never return. He went back to Asa's hut with herbs to tend to her wounds and apologized on the behalf of his girlfriends. Asa was touched by the kind gesture and decided to tell him to stay away from her so as to avoid the bad luck that goes with her. He tells her he has a feeling that she is not a mad person, but she insists he leaves her house immediately. When he left, she cried herself to sleep. The next day, Okinwa made it his mission to find out everything about Asa. He went around the village asking questions, but nobody knew anything about her. So he decided to travel to the neighboring villages on his bicycle. He got to a village called Amokwe. There he met an elderly woman and asked if she knew of a girl who had blue eyes and full hair. Immediately, the woman screamed, "My child, no one talks about that evil witch in this village. If you see her, you must run away." Okinwa offered her some money and pleaded with her to tell him everything she knows about Asa. And she agrees and invited him into her compound to sit. She then tells him everything about Asa. Her name is Ujunwa, the old lady began. The very day she was born was the day her parents died. Her mother died during delivery, and her father, on hearing the news of his wife, died instantly. When the villagers saw her and saw her eyes, they were all scared, and they isolated her and asked their children to stay away from the evil child. She grew up with her father's sister, who later passed on and left her to take care of their farming business. Not long after, a young man from our village came along and fell in love with her, despite all the warnings not to marry her. He went ahead and married her against everyone's wish. They had a very handsome son, and together they lived happily for 4 years. One day, her son was playing with his wooden toy when it fell into the water well in the compound. The boy jumped into the well to retrieve it, but was unable to come out. Ujunwa came out of the house in search of him, only to find him inside the well. She screamed, and her husband immediately ran out of the house, only to trip and hit his head against a rock. That was sadly the end for both of them. The villagers came together in anger and banished Ujunwa from the village, and ever since, no one has set their eyes on her. Okinwa was brought to tears by the story. He thanked the woman and then went back to his village in search of Asa. He couldn't find her anywhere, so he went home. On getting home, he saw her waiting for him in his compound. He walked up to her and said to her, "I know your story now, and I want to let you know that none of those things were your fault. You are not mad. Instead, you are the beautiful woman which I have fallen in love with. I know your name now. You are not a mad woman. You are Ujunwa." Asa was shocked to hear her name from him. She immediately pushed him away and ran out of his compound. Asa snuck back into her village and went to her husband's grave along with her child's. She laid there and cried bitterly. She asked them for their forgiveness because she had made a promise after their deaths that she would live the rest of her life in pain and misery as a mad woman. But now she has fallen in love with Okinwa and wants to give life a chance. She quickly pleads and begs them, then runs out of the village before someone recognizes her. The next day, Okinwa was ready to go out to look for her when he sees a very beautiful, well-dressed woman walk into his compound. At first, he was confused till he realized it was Asa. She apologized for all the troubles she had caused him and then tells him she is willing to give their relationship a chance. He was so happy and commented on how beautiful she looked. They later got married and had beautiful children and a beautiful life together. One of the lessons of this story is that we shouldn't always judge people by their pasts or what they have been through. Most people are victims of circumstances. Thanks for watching, guys. Please don't forget to subscribe, hit the share button, and leave a like. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time.